Hello guys and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me Vulcan. Today I have for you game 2 out of 2 games between Włochaty and Player in round 5 of the second European tournament. Today we are going to be seeing Caumont le, and on the Allied side Włochaty has chosen the second Armoured French, and on the Axis side Player has chosen the Festung Gross-Paris. So today we are moving on from the last game, where Player actually defeated Włochaty with the 1st Panzerner versus the 12th SS Panzer on show, which was a big surprise. Player played it very, very well and gained himself one up on Włochaty. So we'll have to wait and see if Włochaty can bring it back, since he is a very good player and he now has a division that I think suits him a lot better, and we have seen him have success with in the past, the 2nd Armoured French being that aggressive playstyle that Włochaty likes, alongside some decent infantry early on where he can make quite a lot of ground. Over on the side of Player though, the Festung cannot be counted out. Early on in Phase A they have the Puma that can be great for taking care of the light armoured units that the 2nd Armoured can put out. Włochaty I don't think is one to really rely a lot on the M10s, so the Puma I think has the potential to do a lot of damage in this matchup against things like the M8 Spies and the Stuarts that Włochaty may rely upon. The other good thing about the Festung is they have decent defensive capabilities versus infantry, due to them having large squads like Bevelungs that are really hard to dislodge. So the French infantry may have trouble getting through those. I don't think it will necessarily have trouble at close range due to the flamethrowers, things like Pioneer squads. But at longer ranges, I think the 15-man squads will be really irritating to get rid of due to the lack of artillery in Phase A for the French. So that's something we're going to have to keep an eye on. Over on the Allied side though, let's have a look at the deployment. For Włochaty, on the very top side, we have the AT gun there with Caumont. Further down, it's going to be the M8 Spy with some Nueve. There's going to be the recon infantry with a couple of units of flamethrowers and some command further back. Now, these flamethrowers with the French, they're often used to just hold the front line in certain areas rather than actually go aggressive and take on enemy forces. And it's an interesting play, but it certainly does take away points from your initial deployment. On the bottom side, 2 more units of flamethrowers. We have a Pioneer squad in there with the voltages and a command. Over on the side of Player, on the bottom side, we see the Panhard MG with the Aufklärer, with the Panzerschreck there and also an AT gun Pak 38. There's going to be a Pak or Panzer 40, following up with some Bevelungs. Further up, we see the Panhard MG. There is going to be the Puma at the start with the Feldgendarmerie and another Bevelungs. So this Puma is the one that I'm thinking is going to do all the work here. It has shown itself to do so in the past. We'll have to wait and see if it can do so this time around. That's going to be a Pak 40 for the top side. Wow, okay. Now, Włochaty is going to be relying on a Piper Cub early on, which is going to be looking for any defensive positions. So this Pak 40 will be spotted out. But there isn't really going to be too much that Włochaty has to take care of a Pak 40, because he hasn't brought in a mortar early on. So the only other thing I can think of for the French is their cheap Spitfires. Maybe he'll rely on that air strategy in order to take out this Pak 40. But either way, Pak 40, I think it has line of sight onto the M8 Spy. This could be a dead M8. It is not. The Pak 40 actually misses. Puma now going to be opening up onto the AT gun. That's not good. Oh, and an Eternal Fire from a AT gun that had no veterancy. That is very uncommon for those to hit first time, but does manage to do this time around, and the Puma pays. It gets an Internal Fire, it's going to have to back off. Really affected its morale, but lucky for Player that it survived. Voltages now engaging Bevelungs, but not really going to last too long. Bevelungs in the perfect defensive position here. I mentioned how these can be great defensive infantry, and you can see they are chewing up these voltages with their numbers and barely taking any damage themselves. Now the M8 Spy is going to come around the corner, try and pin them down and find the surrender there, but that's not going to happen. Player knows better. Brings them out the back of the building. Puma now going to be engaging the AT gun again. He is really playing with fire here. Can't really allow this AT gun to sneak up on a Puma. That doesn't seem like a very good idea. So this Puma ideally should just move away, maybe head towards the center. There is potential for a salient here for sure. Look at that big gap that Volhati has left. On this bottom side, the Piper Cub, it's going to be engaged by a D520. And it is shot down. Now there's going to be a Spitfire coming in on the side of Volhati. An air engagement we're going to have to keep an eye on. Meanwhile on the top side, Panhard MG is engine destroyed. And the AT gun does the job. Finishes the standoff, removes some support from these Beverlongs. A new Beverlong squad is on the way. That's going to get strafed briefly. But it looks like players D520 did retreat. Meanwhile here, Volhati has set up a really nice sort of force in this forest, but I don't think it's going to come under much use. It seems as though player isn't really interested in pushing this bottom side, more interested in containing the top side for the time being. Pack 40 is going to be strafed by the Mark 9. With those Aufklärer, they do manage to clean up the command, and that was a nice quick kill there for the Aufklärer. They're going to want to go into return fire again soon, otherwise they will come under fire from the M8 Spy. Puma, that's trying to engage the flamethrowers, but still under pressure from the AT guns, are going to have to back off. But look at these Beverlongs, they're chewing up the Spy. They are surviving against the Nueve very well as well. And yeah, look at that. Just shrugging off all that damage. 2-star veterancy, 15 strength squads in a defensive position. Just so damn good. Panzer 40, that looks like it took a shot at the M5 half-track but was not successful in finding the kill, but could definitely push through quite easily down there if it tried. Boomer now engaging the flamethrower squad. This flamethrower squad, I think it has potential to take out the Beverlongs if it can pin them down. But it does depend because, of course, there's only 2 men in that squad, and if the squad dies before that happens, then there's going to be a problem. Now this Spitfire is going to get caught out. Lovely play there from player. Utilizes the Flak 39 alongside the D520 to shoot down that Spitfire Mark 9. Really, really impressive stuff from player. Loved the way he manipulated Volhati into taking those strafing runs and just took advantage completely. The Verlongs, though, they're pinned down. They have been smoked off by the Feldgendarmerie, but how long that lasts remains to be seen, especially considering the Nueve and the Voltigeurs are pressing forwards very aggressively. And it's only a matter of time until they do manage to get on top of these infantry squads. Now the Feldgendarmerie, looks like they jumped out there briefly to defend the Pack 40 with a smoke grenade, just keep them in cover. Oh, that AT gun though, again, no veterancy, hits its target. Panzerjäger 35 gets a driver wound, fortunately facing the right direction to kill off the AT gun in reply. Really, really nice stuff there. Now the Feldgendarmerie, they are going to be trying to engage the Nueve. They did quite a lot of damage, honestly, and I think if they came out of the building the right direction, player could have microed them back in and out to do even more damage, but unfortunately it takes him down to 1 man, and he's probably going to want to try and keep them alive rather than sacrifice them, so that he remains to have that veterancy on the top side. M8 Spy has now come into the bottom side. That's going to be trying to clean up the Panzer 40 that has killed the M5 half-track here, I believe. Either way, on the top side, Panzerjäger still controlling this area. It's going to be using its HE to pin down infantry where it can. And one nice thing about these Panzerjägers is they do have really high rate of fire, so they can actually utilize that to pin down enemy infantry. But what we can see here is that the Feldgendarmerie did get killed and finished up. The half-track, that's going to go down to the Pack 40. Flak 39 was also engaging that. Meanwhile, on the bottom side, the Verlongs, they are trying to take on these Voltigeurs from this defensive position. The Pioneer's not even going to get close, but a +2 now for Volhati. Definitely a great start for him, and something that is not uncommon with the French. They can put on a lot of pressure early on, and it certainly can be difficult to deal with if you don't have any super powerful units, especially on the side of the Axis, where he's relying on Panzerjägers that can easily be killed by these M8 Spies. But Pack 40 showing up, killing the M5 half-track there. Voltigeurs do not go down. M10 now on its way though. And that looks to be covering the centre of the map. Puma though, that's heading now down to the bottom side, possibly to face off against this M8 Spy, because he's not having much luck engaging this one on the top side, which has just been hidden from the majority of Phase A so far. New command is on the way, and a 50mm mortar has now got involved here. It's going to be providing smoke for these Bavarongs to push into the tree line here. And then I think his queued command is to just straight up fire position into these trees so that he can pin the Nueve, which are trying to engage his Bavarongs. What will be nice though for player is that he'll have two 2-star Bavarongs at his disposal once these Fel Gendarmerie get into position. And that's going to be very difficult for the Nueve to deal with, especially under fire from both the Pak 40, by the looks of things, and the 50mm mortar. Now the Puma again heading up to the top side. It looks like player's been very indecisive with how he wants to use this, but since the AT gun did die, there's no reason for this Puma not to be on the top side now. But what we can see is that an AT gun has been brought up. It's going to be under fire from the Pak 40 though, and the 4 HE from that Pak 40 should be able to clean it up quite nicely. The Panzerjäger also getting involved will be able to help pin down that AT gun. That AT gun is just left out in the open at the moment. It's going to have to try and fall back best it can. Panzerjäger on the top side going to kill another half-track. Bavarongs starting to push out the Nueve and the voltages from this forest area. And these voltages, well, they're in trouble. This command, it's probably going to go down, and then once it does, the Nueve could be surrendered. However, the M8 Spy kills off the Puma, and that is a very, very significant kill there for Włochaty. Gives him a lot of control over the early game, because now he can more than likely kill off these Panzerjägers with M8 Spies if he can get close enough, due to the aim time on the M8s compared to the Panzerjägers, due to obviously them being self-propelled. The B2, that's come in though, and that's actually pretty dangerous for an M8 due to its high front armour. Bavarongs though, they are going to be pinned by the M5A1 50 cal, and the M10's going to now be mowing down these Bavarongs. They're going to get surrendered surely. Yeah, those Bavarongs have been pushed out of that position. So, +2 now for Włochaty. Sitting pretty in this game. The Pioneers, it looks like they did manage to get the jump onto the Bavarongs in the end, but the Panzerschreck should be able to clean up the WC-52 if we can get line of sight. Which it does. Took a little while to aim, but managed to get there in the end. On the top side, Nueve have been dealt with. These Nueve are behind enemy lines, don't have any AT, so I'm sure the Panzerjäger will just end up driving into those eventually. Bavarongs, they are going to be able to clean up that AT gun. Panzerjäger, lucky they did not die there. But here comes the B2 round the corner, finds a driver wound onto the M8. That M8's now a sitting duck. The Bavarongs going to possibly try and pin it down, but don't really want to be taking fire from that 50 cal if they can help it. M8 Spy is now going to be falling back. I think it actually died there to the Panhard MG, which is quite something. But either way, Włochaty is still making ground in the middle, even though player has managed to destroy a lot of his forces further up. Now we see the bike coming in here. That's going to be accompanying the B2 as it continues its push. Very cool little unit, nice and fast. Panzerjäger going to try and engage in the Nueve. But honestly, you could probably just ignore them, as long as it doesn't come around behind him and start killing off his Flak 39 or 50mm mortar or something. Player has managed to retain the units he had on the bottom side, and that's actually quite important. And what he's going to do now is actually use the Panzer 40 to engage the M8. Now the Panzer 40 has like the 2 AP higher than the 3 armor that the M8 Spy has. And the M8 only has 2 higher than the 5 armor that the Panzer 40 has. So that's a very even engagement. The only thing that makes it a bit more in favour of the M8 is that it has the veterancy. Panzerschreck though, that's going to be engaging the voltages here. And it looks like it is going to get taken out. Pioneer still trying to make ground, but now coming under fire from the Bavarongs from a distance, which isn't good for them. Not quite sure what happened to the M10 in the mid. Possibly just moved around to the top side here. Looks like Włochaty trying to counter the movements of the B2 and the Panzerjäger by moving that M10 up. The +1 still for Włochaty, even though he does seem to be under a bit more pressure now. The Bavarongs really doing a good job of killing off those voltages and putting a lot of pressure onto these Pioneers, which are now down to 1 man. I think players just use these Bavarongs so damn well. He sort of sponged the initial attack from the French, really well, and it's managed to like springboard it back on the top side and regain quite a lot of ground in his favour. However, this mid area is now a problem, and he's going to have to find a way to deal with that. New M10 has come in on the bottom side to kill off the Panhard MG, now hitting the Landerschutzen and pinning those down. So it doesn't look like the M10 died, since there is only 2 available to the French in Phase A. But we are now in Phase B, and wow, would you look at that, the M8 does go down. I believe that must have been the Bavarians there getting into range. Now the AT gun, can that kill off the Panzer 40 in reply? It can. So both players losing their armour. This Panzer 40 is in trouble. M10 looks like it internal fragmented the Panzer 40, and the voltages they're trying to hit with a bazooka but tend to always miss. Now these Landerschutzen, they're going to get surrendered, and the player loses control of his salient on the bottom side. So now Nueve pushing up, some more voltages on the way. One thing that I think that will affect Włochaty's play though, is that as we move into Phase B and C, his lack of infantry availability. So he's going to have to manage that very, very well if he's going to want to remain aggressive with the tanks that he's going to have at his disposal. Because since we're in Phase B, he does have access to the M4s. You can see one coming in on the very left, the M4A376. Which is an extremely good tank. But M10, that's going to clean up the Panzer 40. D520 came in for a strafing run onto some of this infantry, but Verlong's trying to hold the ground, but are going to take a grenade to the face. The Hummel, though, going to be saving the day. That takes out, or pins down, the Sappers and the Nueve. Now on the bottom side, Pack 40, that's going to be under pressure by the voltages. Aufklärer, though, really nice position there. M10, however, has managed to gain back this ground, and where a lot of players' resources have gone to the top side, it seems as though he's neglected this bottom side a little bit too long, and it has allowed Włochaty to make quite a lot of ground here. Now trying to rectify that with the Panzer 4H as well as the new infantry here in the Panzer 39. These Panzer 39s are actually really great against the infantry that the French can bring in, because most of the French infantry won't have AT unless Włochaty completely fills his division with sappers. But either way, the Panzer 40 can really do a lot of damage with its machine gun and its main gun at sort of the 200 plus range, like just outside the range of bazookas basically. And that's something that player could definitely take good advantage of against the infantry of Włochaty. Panzerschreck though, that's going to be trying to take out the M5 half-track, does manage to find the kill. The Hummel is still firing away, and that's actually got a really, really short way to fire against these sappers. Panzer 4, that's now going to be engaging the voltages, trying to save the Pack 38 from being killed. The Pack 38, what can it do? It's managed to get out the backside of the tree line and is now engaging these AT guns. So nice kill there. Meanwhile on the top side, Bavarians still holding the ground. +1 still in favour of Włochaty. Now, I think the player really needs to build up a strong force here and push back into Włochaty if he wants to have a chance of winning. Because so far, I think Włochaty has controlled this game quite well. Where he has been losing ground, he's been compensating on the other side of the map very well. And if he continues to do that, then there's no doubt that he can get a lot of damage done. So this Aufklärer, also the AT gun now going down to a couple units of infantry here. Włochaty completely controls his bottom side. On the top side, it's a bit more precarious. M10 trying to engage the Panzerjäger and the B2. Trouble is with the M10 is it doesn't have a fantastic amount of armor, so something like a Marder, for example, might be able to take it out. This is actually a 2-star Marder accompanied by the BMW. But this M4A3, that's a big threat, and something that will be able to deal with Marders much better, because it does have the 11 front armor to deal with the 13 AP that a Marder has. Nice one-shot kill there, though, for the M10, takes out the Panzerjäger nice and easy. Hummel on the bot side, still helping deal with this infantry, which has been working out really quite well, so definitely a nice choice. And we've seen player, I think, bring in this Hummel early before, and it does seem to pay off for him. I have criticised the points put into this Hummel, but this time around I think like pinning down all these sappers and allowing his own infantry to advance like this is working out really, really well. And the Panzer 39 like accompanying this push is just perfect. So now a Pak 40 that's going to be coming into the mid here, something to threaten the M10 for sure. M4A2 coming up the middle of the map, going to be heading down to the bottom side, potentially something to deal with the Panzer 39. E520 is going to help surrender some infantry on the bottom side. So player seems to be stabilising, keeping Włochaty at just the +1, but as Włochaty continues to bring in more of these M4s, player really needs to start to find a way to deal with them. Because if he does not, then these M4s can definitely start to overpower his abundance of infantry. Ooh, stat ammo storage hit there for a shooter wound. Panzer IV taking on the M4A1 or A2. Now that Panzer IV still has enough ammunition to engage the M4A2, so it's not the end of the world. We've just got to be very careful because the 2-star M4A2 should be able to aim faster, but the Panzer IV had its turret facing. Oh, Panzer IV didn't even fire. And here comes the Ju-188, the Festung Special, to try and pin down the M4A2. Wow, that was an interesting kill from the M10 there onto the Befehl Panzer 35. There must have been a tiny gap through that tree line. Unless the Panzer 35 was on the other side of the tree line, it was not. No idea how that M10 managed to find that kill, but it did. Something to note. Either way, Ju-188 pinning down the M4A1 does leave it vulnerable to the Panzer IV, but it has actually retreated in a really nice place between these two groups of trees, and that's certainly served to keep it alive. Pak 40 going to be taking on the AT gun in the mid. ROA now coming onto the field and doing a lot of damage against Włochaty's infantry at close to medium range. Now the ROA don't necessarily want to engage sappers at the 100 meter range because sappers have the 20 HE power grenades. But what they can do is definitely do a lot of damage at like a little bit longer range, and then sort of engage them just to get that little bit of a pin going onto those units. But ROA coming up strong there with the Faustpatron hitting the M4A2. Really nice work. Panzer 39 was moving to engage at close range as well. Sappers tried to engage the ROA at close range with the grenade, but the ROA were microed away just after they fired that AT weapon. So really smart play there from player, getting the better of Włochaty, and now player is going to be finding his own salient into Włochaty's land. The Panzer IV has moved up, nothing to defend this M15 AA, and that's going to get taken out by the Panzer IV. Expensive unit to lose. Also now this half track going to be toast. Meanwhile on the top side, the Pak 40 still covering the open ground. Did end up killing this AT gun in the mid, but now has got to deal with a concentrated push from Włochaty. Now player comes around the corner with his Marder 1, but that's going to be internal fragmented with the first shot, and the M4A3 76 is going to continue to take shots, but ROA, they've managed to actually surrender these sappers in a very, very smart play from player, and he's, out of all of this, managed to take up his position in these trees, which is something I did not expect to happen so quickly, but has managed to happen. This M10, I believe, was just completely out of position, does not want to push around the corner and engage a Panzer IVH at close range due to the Panzer IVH having the advantage of aim time. So the M10 best bet now is just to kind of back off and try and cover this salient that is forming in favour of player. He's managed to gain back so much. So Włochaty trying to rely on off-map at the moment, and he has managed to do so in order to take care of the bike here, as well as the Marder 1. The Marder 1's now dead. He's also now using it to kill off this Pak 40, but there is going to be a Tiger on the field, and this has the potential to kill M4A3s. Look at this bad boy moving into position. Can he kill the M4A3? He doesn't need to, because the Pak 40 did it for him. This VulcanHDGaming providing the extra veterancy for the Pak 40 does allow that to find a one-shot kill, Really nice job there by player to get that Pak 40 in such a awkward position for Włochaty, and Włochaty could not see it with his spade because of the line of sight. So that was just really smart positioning with that Pak 40. He had one there before, but just doing it again was probably not something that Włochaty expected, and losing that M4A 376 was like the main part of his push. So that's a big problem. Sappers are going to try and engage the ROA, but the really nice micro there from player allows him to pin the Sappers completely, very quickly indeed. Now the Panzer IV with its 2-star veterancy, possibly looking for the engagement there onto the M4A2 with the help of the Panzer 39. Panzer 39 can just cause a distraction, whilst the Panzer IV comes around the corner and finds the shot on target. Pak 40 now under fire. Player will want to unleash his Gendarmerie to save that. Otherwise there may be problems. Gendarmerie going to cover the Pak 40 with the smoke. Tiger now getting very aggressive. M10's going to have to back off for the time being. Panzer 39 hitting reinforcements. Hits the M5 half-track there. Going to be taking care of more Sappers. ROA, they've moved into the building. Sappers going to try and run those down. Get in range of their grenade. All that player has to do though is watch that grenade and then micro them out. Just like he's done. Grenade will blow up. And then he can jump back in. And the Sappers will be close enough that basically they will get ruined very quickly by those Papashas. We see the half-track go down there. Ju-188, that's going to come in with a bombing strike to pin the M4A2. That's going to look for the engagement for the M4A2. Can the Panzer 39 clean up an M4A2? This would be absolutely glorious if it could, but it misses the first shot. Panzer 4H, just got all the time in the world to take on the M4A2 down here, but the M10 has now come out to play, so Panzer IV having to back off just slightly, so that is not a problem. He's going to want to keep this M4A2 pinned. Panzer 39 though probably has a better chance of surrendering this M4A2 than actually killing it, so it looks like that's what player's going for, but with the command M4 going down, this M4A2 has nowhere to run. It's behind enemy lines. Panzer IV takes a shot, but it gets surrendered by the Panzer 39, and now the Sappers, they're in trouble as well. This bottom side has been completely broken wide open by player. Fantastic stuff. Now this B2, it really needs reloading. It has been internal fragmented. Should be sent back to the spawn, just so that he can get that resupplied and sent back into the fight. Or he could just send it down to this Hummel actually to use this Opel Blitz munition. But one thing that I like to see here is that the Hummel's now engaging the M10. There's potential here, if this hits directly, that it will actually kill the M10. So there's that. But if it doesn't and it just pins it down, then the Panzer IV can engage it, which is not so much of a bad thing either. But the best way to get rid of this pocket on the bottom side is to have a couple of ROA squads just push into this tree line and then have a Panzerschreck follow them along. Then you can potentially keep eyes on the M10, keep hitting it with artillery to the point where the Panzer IV can just come around the corner and kill it. Panzer 39, that's now in trouble. M4A 376 coming in with a 2-star veterancy. We are in phase C, so those are available. But a +2 now for player, and he will win the game in 14 minutes and 40 seconds if this continues. So, with some fantastic plays with these bombers, player has managed to really bring things back. Going to be bombing the bottom side here. That's another way to get rid of this, I suppose. Completely pins down every single unit. And I believe they will be utterly surrounded from here on out. E520 came in to cover it. There's not actually too much AA, so perhaps he could have invested in more Spitfires. But it seems as though after the initial engagement from the D520 against the Spitfire, he was put off from doing so. That really smart play early on by player to like bait that Spitfire whilst it was strafing was just fantastic. More infantry on the way though for player, and I think Włochaty is honestly getting down to the dregs of his division. He's probably going to end up relying solely on vehicles when he's really going to need infantry to push back through these areas. Nice to see a player actually relying on these KM Führer. It's not often you see these used. But at close range they have the same HE as like at long range. So like at 400 meter range they use 8 HE, at 100 meter range they can use 8 HE as well. Really like well balanced squad, and they have smoke grenades. So fantastic for supporting infantry in close range environments, whilst also providing sort of the MG34 support at long range if need be. Landerschutzen, they're going to be engaging the voltages here. M10's going to come around the corner with the 50 cal and try and help things out. But +2 still sitting in favour of player. And player does lose a unit of Landerschutzen before they unload to an M10, which was not the best of plays, but only a Landerschutzen squad. I'm sure he is not too concerned. Ju-188 coming in once again with the bombing strike, this time onto the M4 A376, but Włochaty has had enough of that. Takes the initiative, drives right up to the Panzer IV, takes it out, no problemo, and now does not have to worry about being bombed since it has all the time to fall back. Really, really nice job there by Włochaty. Definitely had that happen way too many times and did not want it to happen any longer. So nice kill there by the Pak 40 onto that vehicle. Clean shot, no veterancy. ROA taking out some more sappers. Pak 40 kills a half track on the top side. This is a place where things are starting to fall apart as well, and if a Ju-188 comes in and bombs this M10, then I think the Tiger could definitely kill that, and that's something that we'll have to have a look at. But meanwhile, Hummel now arting the M10 again. Tiger's going to be driving up the road and potentially killing that off. He has managed to get infantry into these tree lines now, so he can keep eyes on this M10 as long as he needs to work out that he can kill that with the Tiger. Now the Caumont, they're under pressure from the Spy and the Pioneers. They aren't the best at 100 meter range, like 8 HE is quite nice to hold the line, but against things like flamethrowers, no infantry really lasts that long. And here we go, Tiger going to be turning its turret, finding the shot on target. Let's watch this bad boy fire. And that's a dead M10. Would you rather watch the Tiger fire or the M10 explode? Let me know in the comments. But either way, Caumont and ROA now teaming up to clean up the Spy and the Pioneers. Caumont, though, they are going to be pinned down. But this may give the ROA an opportunity to take out the Pioneers, because the Pioneers will have to reload their flamethrower. Ooh, nasty kill on the bottom side though. A bailout onto the M4A3 76. Tiger E comes around the corner, cleans that up. That sound of the 88 firing is just absolutely glorious. Now that's another burning wreck to add to the rest. Ju-188 coming into the top side. You can see that player has given this a command to come here first so that it turns, and then it gives a better strike onto the M10 and the M3 car at the same time. It's a really smart use of the Ju-188 once again by player. Now the M10 is going to fall back, the Tiger is going to press forwards aggressively, and once again another tank of Włochaty in trouble due to those bombing strikes. Flak 36, that takes care, or Flak 39, sorry, that takes care of the infantry squad that was on the edge of the tree line here, and that's something that Włochaty is going to have to be very careful of now that most of his tanks are taken care of. And the way that player has just been isolating these tanks and taking them out has been very impressive throughout this game. But I do think it's kind of on Włochaty as well, the fact that he has left a lot of these tanks on their own, and it's definitely caused issues. But now, with the Hummel helping, that's going to be an entire unit of sappers surrendered. ROA now pressing aggressively onto the Spy and the Pioneers. Will have to be careful themselves as they move into the edge of the tree line here. But just removing all of these infantry squads pretty much for free is very, very nice indeed. M10 has died on the top side. Tiger E is now going to continue pressing forwards. Can have the bike follow it up, provide that veterancy. Landerschutzen, though, they're going to be possibly pinned down, but not quite. M5 half track doesn't get the job done, but the voltages might. Tiger has found itself an M3 car. That's probably toast. And now the Tiger E, well, that's engaging the M4A376. Bounces off the front armour. Going to have to deal with two M4A3s now, since the M4A3 on the top side now came down to the bottom side. The Tiger versus two M4s. Who will win? Now the M4A376s, they do actually have quite a lot of trouble penetrating a Tiger, but under fire from two tanks, so this Tiger E is going to be forced back. However, Ju-188 comes in with a bombing strike once again. And that may allow the Tiger to get back on form and start pushing again on this bottom side, but I'll have to wait and see. Meanwhile, on the top side, looks like the Tiger's going to be backing off since an AT gun has been brought in. But +2 still in favour of player, and he is going to win the game in 7 minutes and 40 seconds if this continues. And I don't personally see a way in which Włochaty can take back enough ground to stop it from happening, because player is already nearly at 1,100 points, so even a +1 at this point will probably still win him the game. But also because he is very much going to be lacking infantry, and he just lost an absolute ton of it, making a strong push into this forest area. But due to the help of the Hummel here, that really didn't end in his favour, it ended in players, and now player's just going to be able to spam his infantry into these positions to really make a difference. And well, that's another bombing strike going to be pinning that AT gun, cleaning up the voltages, possibly allowing the ROA to get aggressive there. Just this one man on his own can probably go and clean up that AT squad, so that's what he's going to try and do. M4A3s, I think they're still trying to engage the Tiger. The M8 Spy has also come up to help out, but it's got to be careful. That M8 Spy could find itself on the wrong end of this Tiger for sure. Either way, ROA, they're going to be causing problems. They're just in this house, trying to take cover. Jumping out the back door. Hiding for now. Tiger cleans up a half track. Hummel trying to engage, I think, the M4A 376, but a bit off target at the moment. Pack 40 cleans up another unit of infantry. M4A 376 trying to engage the Tiger. Panther G is now on its way, and that should certainly change things quite substantially. Now Panther G, these are the bad boys that have 7 accuracy, and so these M4A 376s won't stand a chance, because not only can the M4A 376s not penetrate a Panther G at maximum range, but the Panther G can most definitely penetrate an M4A 3. On the Pack 40 in the mid, it does get killed off. The Landerschuss and Kernführer here managed to take care of this AT gun, although I think it was actually that one man of the ROA there taking that out, and then the M5 half-track cleaned that up. But either way, things not looking great for Włochaty. Not a single unit of infantry on the map, other than this Spy. That's quite funny. And the M4A2, well, that's now come in with the off-map, but whether or not that's going to be enough to clean out these forests remains to be seen, and I personally don't feel like it's going to be the case. Player now definitely in the lead. He is just passing Włochaty's score of 1,395 points with 5 minutes left on the clock. So Włochaty has a lot of work to do, and I think player here is just kind of taking it easy, using the line of sight to cover himself so that he can pick his engagements against these M4A3s when he wants. Also, he is waiting for his Pack 40 to get in position. He's got the Panzerschreck here. He's got the Panther G on the way. There's no reason why this Tiger should sort of present itself against multiple targets. The Tiger is going to get a shot onto the M8. M8's going to want to back off. It does, just in time. Tiger, though, that's on an attack move. Pack 40 is in position. Will that fire? Player needs to make sure that it does, because otherwise he's risking a bad engagement with this Tiger. Okay, finally lets it go. Ju-188 coming in with the bombing strike once again. Włochaty going to take one last shot at the AT gun, which is not great. Now that's been internal fragmented. The Tiger, he can clean that up surely. Again, isolating the M4A3, taking it out with the bomber. They're going to get mortared by the 50mm. Lander shoots them, though they're not lasting long in the face of the M4A2, but that doesn't particularly matter because it's these AP tanks that we need to keep an eye on, and so far they just haven't performed. Like, the amount of tanks we've seen Włochaty bring in and then just, like, not necessarily let get killed, but have gotten killed, is just crazy. That player's found a way to deal with all of them, and it's very impressive. Ju-188 coming in once again, this time to engage the M4A 376 on the top side, but Włochaty not holding back. This is what he's needed to do. Just get aggressive, take the fights himself at close range, and just get the job done. Because these M4A3s, they snapshot so well. Like if you drive an M4A3 76 around a corner and try and engage something, it can just kill it off so damn easily. So here we'll see the M4A3 76 try and engage this Tiger. Unfortunately, it has been bombed, so the Tiger is going to get the jump. Has all the time in the world. 3-star veterancy at that range. Absolutely no chance for that 76. M4A2 goes down in the mid as well. And whilst that off-map may kill off the ROA and the KM it's not really going to matter. Spitfire Mark 9 though, that's got the better of the D520. If it's finished doing loops, then it probably will get the kill. But never mind, Ju-188 is going to come in, use its machine guns to force the Spitfire Mark 9 to fall back. I love this play. I absolutely love this play from player. Saving his D520 with his bomber. Fantastic. And wow, would you look at that. Włochaty has barely anything left on the map. It's going to be 2 M8 spies between the entire Panzer division and victory. That's just incredible. I know the Festung isn't a Panzer division, but with the amount of Panthers and Tigers that are on the field, it may as well be. The Ju-188, that's going to finally go down. It had taken a lot of damage, but this Ju-188 now trying to take on the P-38 Lightning. P-38 Lightning with 2-star veterancy there. I think these Ju-188s just picking off a bit more than they can chew. D520 now going to be coming in to engage that. The Lightning, will it go down? I don't think it will. Just going to fall back, and it will likely get out alive, mainly due to the fact that it is so fast. There we have it. No more units on the ground for Włochaty. +4 in favour of player. What started as such a promising game for Włochaty quickly went downhill towards the end of Phase B, and Włochaty's going to surrender with only 44 seconds left on the clock. Fantastic stuff. What an incredible game. 39 minutes and 16 seconds. This was one of the best matchups I think we've seen this entire tournament. 4,390 kills to 2,085 losses. Fantastic job, player. Włochaty, commiserations to him. Loses the second game in a row to player. Early on, it looks like this M10, it actually did quite a lot of work. Killed off the Panzerjägers, Panzer 40, Befehl Panzer 35, clean, like all of this sort of dodgy armor that the Festung gain access to. It's like they have everything but nothing great. And that's one thing that the Festung do struggle with in Phase A, and something that it looks like Włochaty definitely took advantage of. But the M4A376 that took out the Marder, M10 took out the Panzerjäger, but then after that, these M4A3s were pretty lackluster. This one was quite nice, actually, taking out the B2 and the Tiger E, but that was very late on. And if we jump over to the losses, well, we can see how player really won this battle. Shot down that Piper Cub early on, baited that Spitfire Mark 9 really well. Beveraungs held their ground perfectly throughout this game. I think players sponged the initial attack very, very well, and then the Pak 40 there, that cleaned up the M4A376 from that really nice position. We see the Pak 38 getting a few kills there. ROAs were managed very, very well by player. His micro on those was perfect to deal with the sappers grenades. The Panzer 4 was managed well to take advantage of the opening on the bottom side after one of the M4A2s was taken out. Then we saw, again, ROA, but these Tigers, wow, look at that. That's a nice kill list for a Tiger. 2 M8s, we got the M4A3s, M4A2, lovely stuff. But the unsung hero of this battle was certainly these Ju-188s. Every time there was a tank that was isolated, player would bomb it and kill it with either his Tigers or any other tank he had at his disposal. So there you have it. Fantastic stuff. Really, really enjoyed this series. Thanks to both these players for making it so awesome. We'll have to wait and see if they make it to the finals, but until then, hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.